Oh, my wife and I were talking about it at the beginning of the season where, they're just not coaching the way we used to or like to. I think the word energy.
Oh,
In order to be really effective, you really need to have tremendous energy all the time, and just not fair to them if you can't do that. And that's
right.
that's what I was thinking all along. Is that, man, they need somebody who has that energy anymore.
Yeah.
And I just think, in all fairness to the program and to the kids, that's what they need and they deserve.
So you're not going to leave this position. You're not leaving Dwenger for good. You're
No.
just the coach.
Yeah.
Just the coaching
Yeah.
position.
Yeah.
Uh, when you look back, I mean, because obviously you got emotional during the speech, but when you look back, what are I mean, there's so many memories. I mean, can you pinpoint one, or is it just overwhelming almost?
Oh, the relationships, the players and the coaches that you work with, the coaches on the other sideline that you get to know, the officials. I watched the 6A game between Penn and Ben Davis, and there's a bunch of officials that I know of and have known them for years. Are Fort Wayne guys.
Yeah.
And so the relationships, the parents who've done so much for us. I think that's the thing that I'll always remember is the people.
Gotcha. I mean, uh, what do you? I mean, maybe it's not. You talked about the relationship, but what are you most proud of what you accomplished here at Dwayne? Because I mean, you spent 4 decades. You won state titles. I mean, what do you? I mean, is it? What are you most proud of that you accomplished?
I think where it is right now, I think it's in good shape. It starts with leadership. There's good leadership in good potential leadership in what is now the junior class. Guys know what the traditions are all about. Our facility is awesome,
Yeah.
thanks to the Shields family and Dave Watercutter's initiative to get that done. I mean, you can practice out there year round, and we will. We'll start next week. We'll be out there, and the attitude that everybody has. There's a lot of talent coming back. If you look at how many starting positions that guys have played. So I think that's what I'm the most proud of is that where it is right now.
Okay. Just talk a little bit about the meeting, because obviously it's time, and the theme is it's time. I mean, what went into the meeting, and what was it like standing in front of those players that you coached?
It's difficult to find a place to meet here, to fit 100 guys in, plus any coaches that may have been there. So the library would be perfect, but it's not available after school because tutoring and things go on. The library is being used as a cafeteria. So I thought the weight room, and the reason the weight room is because that's where it starts. You spend 8 months in the weight room so you can play 4, and not that you don't lift during the season too. And that's where it started with me, because that's the same spot where Andy Johns told us all, 17 years ago or whenever it was, that he was going to retire in that exact same spot. Now back then it was a wrestling room, and now it's a weight room. So I thought that was appropriate.
Okay.
And John Bennett, the athletic director, was there, and he says, "I think you ought to have them all sit down." He says, "That way they can see." He's kind of either making fun of me or because it's crowded in there or whatever. But so we had them all sit down. And so I went through this, and it was very difficult to get through it. I got through it, but it was not real manly at times, I don't think, as far as the way I behaved. But I think they know how emotional it was and how much it meant to me.
What is because you have a focus all the time. What does "it's time" kind of mean to you?
I'm sure there'll be somebody that'll look at things and they'll say, "Well, it's about time." But somebody always told me that you'll know when it's time, and I knew after the season got going. Really, not before the season, but after the season got going. Wow, this is tough. This is tough to come out there fired up every day and to show that kind of energy and to think, I should be running from here to there, and why am I walking? And those kind of things. So that's when I knew.
Because you announced it to your team a little bit ago. I mean, what's the reaction been like in a matter of 2 hours? 3
Well,
hours?
a lot of coaches have come in that either were at the meeting or couldn't make the meeting. I got a call from the principal. I got a call from some former players. Got a call from some former coaches. It's got a call from my son-in-law, who's a high school coach in Indianapolis, and they've all been very positive and thankful for the time. And I'm thankful for the time. I thank my wife Jane because 40 years we've been together. That's how I've been coaching. When we were dating in college, I was coaching football. My last year of college. So, it's easy for me to remember how long I've been coaching because it's the same amount of years I've been married, and she's been through that, and can't ask much more of that. So I want to thank her.
Are you gonna miss it?
Oh, I'm sure I will. For all these years, I've had the best seat in the house. I'm right on the sidelines, skipping over chains, and the chains move here and there, but I don't know what that's going to be like to get in the car and go through a gate like everybody else does and sit in the stands. That's going to be weird.
Are you going to have any role? Is it consulting, or are you just going to help a little bit?
I don't know.
Okay.
I've given so much up already that I don't think it's fair to give up any more.
Okay.
I've got 6 children, and some are in town still, and some are gone to Indy. I've got one son who's on the football staff at the University of New Mexico. We haven't been able to see him since last summer, so, excuse me for a second, so be able to do that now. My grandson, who is on the team this year, believe it or not, I've got a grandson on the team. He's going to be, I think he'd like to go to Indiana in the fall, so we'll be able to go see him. Just some things like that we haven't been able to do. I've got grandchildren in Indianapolis who are playing CYO sports down there and doing well. We'll be able to do that.
That's great. I mean, is there anything else you'd like to add about it? Because I mean, you obviously thank a lot of people, but I mean, you sum it up pretty good. I was just reading it.
Well, those 2 prayers say it all, I think. The first one was one I learned when I first got here. Actually, the campus minister showed me that prayer. I thought, wow, that's unbelievable. And every day, that's the first prayer I say, and oftentimes I say it on the way to school. And we're all here for a reason. And when I realized what my calling was, I never worked a day in my life. I went to school, or I went to football, or I went to practice. I never went to work. And I'm still one of those guys that likes to think about what I'm wearing tomorrow before tomorrow comes. Sometimes I'd even lay the clothes out the night before. And so that first prayer is very important. And then the bottom prayer is one that, believe it or not, I read to the team, and they started to pray that. I didn't know it because some of the things that the kids do before the game are kind of secretive or whatever, and they don't want coaches around. But I wondered what they're chanting one time, and it was televised, and they were chanting that prayer, and Rockney's prayer it's called, or the athlete's prayer. And so I think that has a lot to say about why we're here too.
When you started this thing 4 decades ago, when you married your wife, when you started coaching, I mean, does it feel like that's yesterday, or does that feel like it's a...
It really does. I was coaching. It took me an extra semester to graduate from Purdue because I changed majors, and so I had some time on my hands. So I went over to West Lafayette High and asked them, do they have a spot? They had a spot. They said, yeah, we've got a spot in the junior high. So I went over there, and West Lafayette is a tremendous community to learn about coaching football because that is a different kind of young man there, and I learned a lot. Don Fairchild was the head coach of the junior high there, and just had a great experience. Steve Helmick was the head high school coach, and he later became the president and principal at Cathedral High School. So I just had some great mentors all along the way.